Okay, are we back? Are we streaming right now? Okay. All right, guys, we're having sound issues. Not exactly sure where the issue is stemming from, so just be patient with us while we figure it out. You might see this happen for the next couple of days. Our system just updated, so it's probably something wonky with that. But thanks for being patient, tuning back in. We're going over Minneapolis and Duluth here at the start of the show. And then, of course, getting into tomorrow's forecast, we're going to go over the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, talking about this whole system that tracks off to the east, but it might stick around in parts of, the Midwest area. So getting into all of that here. Right now, current conditions-wise, really nice across the Front Range. We have one risk there, going to be low end. Really nice and clear skies across Minnesota and the upper Midwest right now as well. And we got a disturbance getting ready to track through there. And then, most notably in the moment, is going to be through New England, where we've got some storms already moving through. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the area right now. For wind gusts up to 75 miles an hour, as well as very scattered hail up to 1 inch in size. So watching that area developing right now, and it's going to be later on this afternoon and evening for you guys in the upper Midwest. But there's our disturbance. This is going to be kicking off some storms here in Minnesota and Wisconsin here this evening, as well as some across the Rocky Mountain Front Range. And then this trough up here is what's getting all these storms going right now. 80s and 90s across the nation, 91 degrees in Minneapolis, but that heat combined with all this humidity, here's our water vapor, lots of stuff here across the central U.S. All of that combined is going to get us some pretty good instability that could lead to some large hail. Watching our significant hail model values jump up here around 5 p.m. right before storms initiate. Got some nice warm colors on the map for you between Minneapolis and Duluth, and that should help some storms develop. Now again, this takes into account how cold the upper atmosphere is when we got that forcing, when we've got all that instability. So those model values tend to lead to some large hail if it's in the area. Now storm mode is also looking pretty decent for you guys in this corridor along I-35 between Minneapolis and Duluth. We get these nice isolated storms here and there, and those could lead to some pretty large hail through the corridor. Now we're watching again Duluth specifically. That's where things really initially develop around 5 p.m. today. Then as those track east, it's going to start back building, and that's when Minneapolis's chance will jump in here by around 10 p.m. So these are late night storms for you guys. Getting a little more clustered, so we will see those hail sizes start to drop off. But with anything that does stay isolated, we could still see some large hail tracking through Minneapolis and just south of it towards La Crosse before things make their way into Wisconsin through the overnight hours. Then off in New England, it's going to be more of a wind and potentially tornado threat. Here we are by 5 p.m. seeing things track through Portland into central Massachusetts and Connecticut with a chance for high winds, some hail here and there, quarter size, as well as potentially tornadoes. So you'll be fighting that along with rush hour traffic as you're moving through the Boston metro, New York, etc. And then that should be off the coast by around 10 p.m. Then out in the Rockies, they're just kind of doing their thing. You see those storms developing around 4 p.m. Central, so 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and then they'll track off east into the high plains, potentially producing some wind gusts here and there and maybe a scattered quarter-sized hailstone or two. But the bulk of the risk is definitely going to be through the upper Midwest into today, through Wisconsin, through parts of Minnesota, as well as potentially northern Iowa here. So getting into that, La Crosse, you're in it, as well as Minneapolis, Duluth. You guys are going to be the three cities that we're really watching into today through tonight. So again, Duluth, high chance to see some severe hail with those initial storms developing around 5 p.m. And then Minneapolis, still a moderate chance as things backbuild towards you. Could potentially see golf balls or even greater if things can stay isolated enough. Then for Sioux Falls and Green Bay, it's really going to be a matter of can those storms reach you with that hail, low-end chance, but you potentially could see some quarters here and there through the rest of the area. So there's our purple on the map for today through parts of western Wisconsin and even eastern Minnesota, watching that into this evening through tonight. Then off into the Front Range, again, low-end chance, but you could potentially see some quarters anywhere from Cheyenne down through Pueblo into today, and then quarters as well through parts of New England, New York, all the way up into Portland, Boston, Albany. You guys are in it too. So here's your city forecast as promised for Minneapolis, starting tonight around 10 p.m. and it's going to roll through about 5 in the morning. So again, it's a good time if, you're asleep at that point. Turn on those weather alerts on your phone so you stay aware of anything severe that might be moving into the area after dark. Could see hail up to 2 inches in size, and again, it's just going to be a matter of whether those storms stay isolated moving over you, but you could, a moderate chance of at least seeing some quarters into tonight with those storms. Anything greater than golf balls in size is also a moderate chance, and I mean, we covered all the reasoning there, so. Going into Duluth, it's going to be a little bit earlier on that storm timeline. Now we're looking at 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., and that's when our baseball-sized hail chance is going to be in play. Could potentially see that with any of those isolated cells that are tracking through, and we'll have a tornado chance on those two that we'll get to in a second here. High-end chance of seeing quarter-sized hail at least, so above severe threshold, and you still got that moderate chance of seeing that large hail, anything greater than golf balls. Now getting into wind, and then we'll talk about tornadoes in a second here. But same 3 areas here, pulling this northeast risk out a little bit to the west, so all your directions there. Moving it out into the Ohio Valley there for some scattered storms happening out that way. But if you're along the Front Range, still a low-end chance for you guys. It's going to be super scattered through there. Minneapolis, Duluth, La Crosse, anywhere in western Wisconsin, you guys have a moderate chance to see some stronger gusts up to 60, 70 miles an hour with some of those more intense thunderstorms. And then out east, low wind through the Ohio Valley. It's just going to be some popcorn storms through the area that could potentially get you some breezy winds here and there. But through New York, through Albany, and through Portland, as well as Boston and Hartford, Connecticut area, that's where we could potentially see those storms forming into a line and then driving off the coast, where we've got that higher wind chance for you guys there. Then for tornadoes, it's going to be out in New England as well as the upper Midwest, where we're seeing isolated cells, and then when we're seeing those bands tracking through with a chance for rotation ahead of that low. So once again, this whole corridor, you got a chance for tornadoes. Large hail is going to be the primary threat into today, but that tornado chance is still on the table when you get those isolated supercells. So got to put that out for you guys. And then up through New England, New York, and then chances increasing as we move up towards like Boston, up into Portland. That's where we'll have the better chance to see those tornadoes. Again, as they get going towards the Atlantic, they're going to be seeing more potential to get spinning, and that's where we get that tornado threat for you guys into today. Then tomorrow, scattered chances from pretty much west to east again, but the Midwest and Ohio Valley is in it. Starting out west though, we got these storms forming around Billings and into Butte by around 5 p.m. across I-94. Those are going to track up and kind of, fizzle out, not seeing super intense storms through Montana, but still a chance to see some go severe here and there. Then off into the Ohio Valley, could see a little bit more storm intensity. Now models have been kind of separated, so some are showing a linear storm tracking through parts of Iowa, so Des Moines, that could get you a high wind event. This particular model is showing more supercell development and isolated storms that could potentially see hail. So again, we'll update you tomorrow once things kind of come together. But right now, here's kind of an outline of at least what one model is showing. Okay, so 5 p.m., that's when we see storms developing. Then they're going to track off east, form a whole mess of stuff through upper Michigan and through the Ohio Valley, and then form that windstorm out through New England. So could potentially see a mix of hail and wind in with that for tomorrow afternoon. So right now, can only put ping pong to golf balls on the board. It's just going to be dependent on which storm mode takes over into tomorrow. But for Montana, I mean, quarters to $50 here and there, and a lot of small hail for you guys up in the Rockies, which is pretty typical for this time of year. Then out through the Ohio Valley and parts of the Great Lakes region, Midwest, could see severe hail anywhere from really like Sioux Falls all the way into Grand Rapids. And then if there is large hail, the best potential for that is going to be through Wisconsin again, through parts of Iowa and into northern Illinois, so the Chicago area has that potential, and we'll update on our chances into tomorrow. Then for wind, it's going to be the whole Ohio Valley now tracking off into the northeast. And again, scattered chances for you guys out in Montana. And then things pick up once we move into Des Moines, out through like Grand Rapids, into Chicago, and parts of Ohio. Could potentially see that wind event pushing through and getting us some 60-mile-an-hour gusts or greater as they track out that way. So now I'm going to leave you guys with stuff in the tropics, so those are our inland risks, and now moving out towards the Atlantic. No chance of development on this guy for the next 2 days, but it's moving towards some better conditions towards the windward islands here, so that's when we'll see chances tick up towards 40%. So looking at the Atlantic right now, here's kind of the reasoning why chances are picking up once it moves out this way. Basically, the ocean's cape, the ocean's instability here is starting to pick up once it moves towards South America, towards the Caribbean, starting to see warmer waters, more heat potential for that tropical cyclone development to potentially occur. And then wind shear is another factor. We want this pink if we want tropical cyclone development, all right? So it needs to follow this. Right now, it's battling a lot of wind shear out in the central Atlantic, but moving towards the Windward Islands, it has a better chance to see some calmer air and warmer waters. And so that's why there's a little bit of potential to see that develop as it moves that way, but it's got to get out there first. So we'll see what happens for the next couple of days. So last but not least, here's where tropical formation is the likeliest in the next 7 days from now through the beginning of August here. It's kind of all over the board. We've seen a few out through the central Atlantic here, but lots of them kind of coming off through the west coast of Africa here and then tracking towards the Caribbean, which is what we've got right now. So we'll see what happens with this guy as it moves into those more favorable conditions and as we start to get more towards peak season, and we'll keep you guys updated. You guys can go ahead and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Hit See First on Facebook so you never miss a live video. Smash that subscribe button everywhere else. And stay tuned to our stories. We'll let you guys know what your city casts are, as well as if any severe weather is, hitting Minneapolis or Duluth for tonight. Then if you guys want to get in contact with us, you can go ahead and scan the QR code up above me or click the link in the description to this video for access to our products. And so that includes like maps of any severe weather that's happening across the nation. And those maps are updated live, so it's kind of a neat little tool there. And if you have questions about it, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. Email us at info@hailtrace.com or check out hailtrace.com for more details. And again, thanks for the patience with all the tech issues. We'll work on getting it resolved. If you have any ideas, drop them in the comments, but we're working on it, and we'll be back tomorrow with more information on all your severe weather risks. But for now, I'm meteorologist Andrea Myers. Thanks for watching.